is the Wheel of Time Spoilers podcast.
Software. It's fun.
Speaking of things that are so much fun, we're doing some Perrin chapters today. And then some Gawyn chapters. So, hey. There is a bit of dessert at the end, right? We do get a Grendel POV with Moradin, and it's delicious.
Oh, boy. I'm glad there's some Dark Prophecies at the bottom of this pudding cup, because, oh, boy. I struggled with these notes, man. I just wanted to punch everyone in sight. At least there's Dark Prophecies to look forward to. I
did keep bouncing off these chapters. I kept finding myself like poking around my email or getting up for a snack, and I was like, wait, you got to sit down and actually read these. So there's some stuff in there, right? They're not completely devoid. And I've got some interesting facts I think that you'll enjoy that might make these a little more fun. But like, oh my God. Do we need to go, like, the Perrin wolf, not wolf stuff, and Agala discovering his moral compass, and Gawyn and Gawyn are, rough. So we're going to try and, like, I think I want to get through these relatively quickly, considering it's a lot of pages, and I don't think we have that much to say about it until the Grendel POV. And then I think there's quite a bit to say.
Yeah, this is a Trakand boy experience today. The princelings. All right. We'll do it. We're going to do it.
So the chapter is called Aradia Groans, and its
yes,
symbols...
my name is the pattern.
Sorry, the pattern groans. And that symbol, that's the breaking lace of ages, is what I'm assuming?
Yeah, I believe we agreed on that last time it came up. It's the age lace unraveling.
And is it more unraveled than it was last time? I feel like that break goes like all the way through it. That'd be a cool little effect.
I have no idea if there's a series of breaking pattern icons.
Probably not, but that would be cool if they did it.
Yeah.
So this is, at the end of the last chapter, they said, hey, Perrin, you got to come take a look at this. And so this is the thing that he's going to go take a look at. And it turns out to be, as far as I can tell, a teleported blight village.
It seems like, yeah. My only other thought was Sharon, but the fact that the blight is emanating from it does tend me towards thinking that it's the blight.
I like it sort of the idea that, like, you know, in Eye of the World, we saw the blight as this wilderness that nothing can live in. But there's all the Trollocs and the bad guys, and everybody's up there. So I feel like Sanderson's trying to say, like, there is, like, places to live in the blight. There are things in the blight that survive in that corruption and among those dangers, because otherwise how do you have all these Trollocs and people who are going to come flooding out of the blight for my war?
Yeah, and it sets up the town for later, right?
Exactly.
Like the town can exist because it's not the first town we've heard of.
Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, this is, I think, you know, just, again, a switching of locations. You have some of the blight plopping down in the middle of Giladon, right? And then because it's like an infectious disease, it does spread from there.
But then why does the village itself not look blighted? It's only blight next to it. But like they said, the village itself doesn't seem affected.
Yeah, I guess that...
That was my only question about it, was just like, why is the village itself not corrupted if it's at the center of a spot of corruption and it came from the blight? But
Okay, alternate theory. The village was transported from somewhere innocent, but the act of transporting it caused the blight, right? This dislocation caused the corruption and the blight spreading out from it, because it was the fact of the transitioning of places, which is the breakdown of the pattern. And the blight is obviously also an effect of the breakdown of the pattern around Sheol.
I like that. Maybe it's like antipodal from like the Land of Madmen or something weird like that. And yeah, it's the transportation is what's causing the blight, not the village. The village is, relatively innocent of any blight behaviors. Because we have no idea where it came from. All we know is it's too foreign to be recognizable.
Shara's not a bad idea, because everything's made out of grassy logs, right? That's bamboo.
Oh, yeah.
Right? And isn't Shara supposed to be the land where they have, you know, a very Asian equivalent? Or
yeah, because they have silk. That's where silk comes from. And that makes it China in terms of biomes.
Right. But yeah, so very much like if you have the silk, you would also have the bamboo.
Well, silk comes from mulberry bushes, but yeah. Yeah.
Well, just in terms of climate, like
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so I mean, it's clearly from somewhere far away, so it could be Shara, could be the Land of Madmen. I kind of am leaning against Blight now that you've proposed this alternative hypothesis. It's more complicated, but I like it better, so we'll keep it.
Ruins the foreshadow the village,
yeah.
but that's fine. We don't necessarily
Whatever.
need I was gonna say it kind of doesn't work because the village feels like a very unique place, right? There's the one village they call it the village because it's the only one applied.
Yeah.
The town, yeah.
Yeah, no, you're right. So many ways this could go. I do think it's interesting that no people got transported along with this, which makes me wonder if there was a bunch of people that like woke up one morning falling 3 feet out of their bed that was no longer there, just like, wow, where'd the house go? Like, we're still here, but all of our infrastructure just vanished. Or, was it truly abandoned? Or did they die in the interim? Or get zapped into the Finn world or something?
I imagine they woke up in a field of very odd plants to them.
Oh, right. Like the plants of this place got transported. And yeah, they were like, why are we in a patch of a foreign continent? We can just walk out of it. This makes no sense. Yeah.
It also, and when I think about that, I can't help but thinking about the Ogier and that maybe somehow the reason the Ogier are here is because the Dark One started moving around patches, but not just from different places in this world, but from places in a different world. And that's how the Ogier ended up in Randland. Like, is basically this exact thing, except the people come along with it. And in this case, Ogier.
Right, and it's not inherently evil when the Ogier do it, whereas the Blight taint on this situation seems to really be indicative of some evil.
Mm-hmm. I mean, we know nothing about why the Ogier groves are where they are, but it seems to be a translated piece of land from another world.
Yeah. But through an agency like of technology of interdimensional tree people rather than the devil.
Right, I suppose.
I mean, the Ogier don't seem evil. They seem pretty good aligned on the whole.
Well, but the village isn't evil either, but the fact that it's transported was, right?
Yeah, that's true.
The town, sorry. Yeah.
Unresolved things we'll never learn the answer to.
We got this Navarin Aes Sedai. Wise One, sorry. Channeling Wise One. But she, as far as I can tell, is just a normal one of the group, right? She never stands out or does anything unique.
Yeah, her and Seonid are talking, but there's nothing super interesting about either of them. We know who Seonid is. Yeah, Navarin's standard issue Wise One.
Yep, she's just below the power level to open a gateway, right? She just can't do that on her own. And she does help with the making of Mahalanar. Right,
yeah. It's that Wise One Aes Sedai pack of generally good people that only mildly annoys Perrin. That's who we're dealing with here.
And that's all I have until he goes to sleep.
Yeah, pretty much. The barreling gives us the title of the chapter, the pattern Groans, pointing out what's happening, and they all go, wow.
And Perrin says, let's burn it all. Okay, time to go to bed.
Which, yeah, I mean, I don't know if that was necessary, but why not? We love a good...
I feel like the blight is something to burn. Right, if you have a small patch of blight...
Oh, that does seem pretty borderlandery, yeah.
And also oh my god, like, if you had banana blight, destroying your Cavendish bananas, maybe you should, burn it all down to try and prevent the spread, right?
Sure. So yeah, he wields fire offensively, and then we don't POV switch, but time jump with a gap between paragraphs, and then we go to sleep with him in Teleron Riyadh.
As he's reading a copy of The Travels of Jane Farstrider as he goes to bed.
Perrin's doing recreational reading for one time. These whole books.
The only time, right? Yeah. Usually he just sits there and thinks. Like I would have liked to see more of him meditating or something like that, right? Remember when he went into the inn and sat there and thought for a long time for hours and hours and hours, and then stood up and left and realized he hadn't left a trace. Mm-hmm. More of that Perrin. Yeah,
Perrin reading just feels a little bit out of character. Perrin doesn't read. Perrin thinks. Perrin broods.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I mean, he doesn't read not in the way, he reads more than the way Matt reads.
Exactly. He read a book once. This is the once.
So we're in the world of dreams. The sky is stormy, but a little more violent, and that discrepancy becomes more and more pronounced over time.
Yeah, I think it's interesting that the storm is stronger here. Normally, the waking world is the real world and the dream world is a reflection, but it seems like in this particular instance, because of the interdimensional nature of Rand and his cosmic struggle with himself, the dream world is actually the most real, and the quote-unquote real world is an echo of what's happening at that more metaphysical center world of Talaran Riyadh.
Also, with my somewhat vague theory that Talaran Riyadh is a border between the Dark One's prison and the real world, right? Like, as he's breaking free, he's stirring it up more because the disturbance is coming from that direction rather than from our world.
Sure. Yeah, you're closer to the point of contact.
Mm-hmm. So he hangs out with a bunch of wolf spirits, some which are alive, some which are dead. Hopper shows up.
One of which is human, technically.
Right.
Boundless shows up here. This is
Right.
the first instance of him hanging out with the pack that includes Boundless, who is Gnome. And yeah, they're like, hey, you want to come play and run and do dream wolf things? And Perrin spends an inordinate number of pages saying, no, yes. And then he goes way too hard into it and overcorrects too much into being a wolf and almost like actually perma kills the elk. And yeah.
And they do he sets up a couple of places that he's going to get some reveal about Gnome. Moraine had told Perrin there was nothing human left in Gnome. Okay, well, is Moraine wrong?
Oh, and by coincidence, we're right near where that happened.
Right, exactly.
What a strange coincidence. Yeah, no, we're Boundless and Gnome get mentioned on the same page, and then, there are no coincidences with Taviran. And yeah.
Very clearly. He's setting up I would call this a fairly major retcon and changing the whole, like, what Gnome is. I don't think
he's such an Eye of the Worldism.
Yeah, he
the
is.
original Gnome is such an Eye of the World flavored thing.
But I don't think back when he was written to be a genuine fear that Perrin could end up like that.
Yeah, this to me does feel like one of the biggest, most expansive load-bearing retcons of them all.
Right. Because it just sort of changes Perrin's whole journey as a wolf, is be like, oh no, you were just seeing it wrong, right? Not that you had to really overcome this problem that you were dealing with the whole time. You had the solution the whole time.
Yeah, it's you were wearing the shoes that would take you home the whole time and you didn't have to murder the witch.
Totally.
Sort of situation.
Totally. It's kind of how it feels to me. Which, when set up right, can be good.
Yeah, like I don't totally hate it, but yeah, I hate a little bit of it. I hate it a little bit. But I don't hate it entirely.
Yeah. What I really hate about it is the way it changes Gnome's, I think, uncle who's taking care of him from someone who was taking care of somebody who was clearly not of the right mind to an abuser who drove him to it.
Oh, we had this discussion a while back where I defended, I don't think that it was his brother Simeon who was the abuser. I think it was their father who was the abuser. And then Simeon did what he could and got blamed for things he did not do. We had this whole debate a while back. But yeah, it just... And on the one hand, again, Eye of the Worldism. So, like, retconning is necessary for all Eye of the Worldisms.
At some level, yes, yeah.
And I don't hate this being his resolution, even being like, hey, this person you met before has a clue for you that, like, you have to mature and, like, come back around. Like, I don't hate that. But yeah, the part where Perrin lives in fear of an ironclad truth given to him by an Aes Sedai, and then it was all just a red herring is like, oh.
Yeah. Yeah. And we understand Moraine can be wrong. Like, she wasn't right about everything that she told them because it's just what she believed. So, and you have to take the difference between an Aes Sedai cannot lie and an Aes Sedai only tells the truth. I saw a great skit where a teacher was trying to catch his class at cheating, and he's like, no matter what question I ask, you seem to have the answer. And then he starts asking them things like, what are the lotto numbers? And they know. What should I do with my life? How can I feel better? And so, but they always have the answer because they're quote unquote cheating, but they're cheating reality, right?
Oh,
and
that's
so,
fun.
yeah, that's the difference between, an Aes Sedai who would always tell the truth. She'd be able to cheat reality by, oh, well, if I can't lie, I can, an Aes Sedai couldn't predict lotto numbers, right? In this, there's an overhead god who will always make sure they can't lie. If they say the wrong lotto numbers, they can't speak. So you just go through until they get the right lotto numbers, and you can write them out, and you can win the lotto, right? But that's not how it works.
I literally yesterday was recording an episode of Autistic Stuff for Autistic People where we were talking about this myth exactly with the autistic community of like, oh, autistic people can't lie. Or the parallel one, like, autistic people have a strong sense of justice. And it's like, are you saying that we just inherently know the morality of things like a lithiometer? No, like that's not actually what's happening. Oh, people in chat are not hearing this. Yeah, no, this is a real thing. Like, autistic people are just so honest. They're so blunt. They can't lie. Like, this is a major myth. And it's completely false, obviously, because autistic people super can lie. But it's the same logic of just like, so if we follow this logic to its extreme, this means that I can tell you ultimate truths about physics because you can just ask me stuff and I can't. I know the truth. Or like in any given morally confusing situation, I'm going to know the right answer. I have such a strong sense of justice. I'll always do the right thing. Like a lot of autistic people don't do the right thing. So it's the same kind of thing here where it's like can't lie and knows the truth. Not synonyms.
No.
Not synonyms at all. And I don't mind Maureen being wrong. I just wish that her wrongness hadn't been Perrin's like number one motivating factor for books and books and books and books and books.
Right.
Like that's what's frustrating is that this is entirely nonsense and it has been his sole motivating fear.
I think I have to get meta here and be like, it's so frustrating because to us, it feels like that was a struggle he had to overcome. And instead of him overcoming it, it's like, oh no, that wasn't even a problem in the first place.
Exactly. I want him to overcome, not learn that he was in a tizzy about a figment of his imagination. That's not the overcoming I wanted.
Right. And just from a story beat, like it just doesn't feel as good.
Yeah.
And I think there's a couple of good lines in here, you know, Perrin being like, I can't ignore my problems. And Hopper being like, you do all the time. Like,
oh my God. Oh my
line.
God. That just, Hopper just savaged him and left him bleeding on the floor. It's so funny. I can't ignore my problems. Then explain to me all of your past behavior.
Mm-hmm.
Like, here is the receipts of what you look. And he like shows him the picture of like, yeah, this is how you looked. Basically like gnome, like you became the thing you're so afraid of, just so you know, like that's within you regardless of your wolfie engagement.
And then there's also this reference to these 3 chunks of metal he forged in his earlier dream. They sort of pop up and then disappear again. I think we're building up to Mahalinar, honestly. Like I think he knows he needs to forge Mahalinar, and he does make it out of 3 pieces, right? The head, the shaft, and the piece that joins them.
Right. Yeah, no, that makes sense.
And these are 3 pieces of metal. They kind of the rod, which is the handle, the thin rectangle, and the large lump. Right, the large lump is the 2 fists. That's the head. The rectangle is the part that he wraps around the shaft to join them together, and the shaft is the flattened rod. It has to, like, I can't think of anything else that would.
Yeah, I was trying to be like, is this some sort of like, you know, Lanfear trying to get in there? Like, is this her like attempting to like get into his dream? But yeah, no, the way that he builds Ma'alanir later does feel like it builds logically from this little snap of a vision. It's not even a proper vision. He has proper visions. This is like the barest whiff of a premonition.
It's almost like he's ruminating on it. It's like he knows he needs to build it and he's kind of thinking about it, but he's not really sure how or what he needs at this point. But he's like, my hammer's not good enough. I need something more powerful to fight these Trollocs.
I often feel like that about projects, like that I can, like there's a subconscious part of me that's just like working on like, well, there's something that's off and eventually it's going to be worth bringing to my conscious mind's attention and then I can start to do something about it.
For me, it's the area between when I know I have to do something and I do a bunch of reading and research and YouTube videos, and then I usually take a break and then I can come, or I might work on it for a little while and be frustrated, right, and not be able to get much done. And then I take a break and I know that my brain is ruminating on it and thinking about it, and I may have some ideas, and often I come back to it and I'm like, oh yeah, boom, 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 and you're like, I'm done.
Yeah, absolutely. Being able to come back to a project after a week or two and be like, aha! There, all of the dust has settled in the workspace of learning this stuff, and now I can do it, and it makes sense. And yeah, so I totally empathize with Perrin in that regard.
We all know that feeling. You finally manage to get away on vacation and the worrying starts. Will that bogus "beware of dogs" sign keep your home safe? What about that fake camera you set up? And will someone finally find your old hide and key rock? That's where ADT comes in. All that stuff, it's safe-ish. It seems fine when you don't really think about it, but you know it truly doesn't work. Instead, ADT provides security solutions that keep you actually safe, giving you real peace of mind. Because vacation is supposed to be, relaxing. Don't settle for safe-ish. Visit ADT.com today to learn more. We all know that feeling. You finally manage to get away on vacation and the worrying starts. Will that bogus "Beware of Dogs" sign keep your home safe? What about that fake camera you set up? And will someone finally find your old hide and key rock? That's where ADT comes in. All that stuff, it's safe-ish. It seems fine when you don't really think about it, but you know it truly doesn't work. Instead, ADT provides security solutions that keep you actually safe, giving you real peace of mind. Because vacation is supposed to be, relaxing. Don't settle for safe-ish. Visit ADT.com today to learn more. We all know that feeling. You finally manage to get away on vacation and the worrying starts. Will that bogus "Beware of Dogs" sign keep your home safe? What about that fake camera you set up? And will someone finally find your old hide and key rock? That's where ADT comes in. All that stuff, it's safe-ish. It seems fine when you don't really think about it, but you know it truly doesn't work. Instead, ADT provides security solutions that keep you actually safe, giving you real peace of mind. Because vacation is supposed to be, relaxing. Don't settle for safe-ish. Visit ADT.com today to learn more.
And so then we have Perrin's visions, which even in the book, they're like, yeah, he'd almost begun to think they would stop coming. And it's like, he hasn't had
I like that meta line.
Mm-hmm.
I like Sanderson being like, yeah, remember those really cool visions in the sky that we thought were never coming back? They're coming back, because I thought those were cool too.
And we can say, Perrin has been avoiding the wolf dream. He's been shutting himself out of there. He's been obsessed with Fael. We can also say it hasn't really been that long without the wolf dreams. We just because of the way time passes, it's been a lot of books, but not that much actual time. And most of that time, he's been obsessed with finding Fael, not sleeping well, definitely not entering the wolf dream.
Yeah, and every time he touches the wolf dream, he shies away from it. So
the first one I'm going to read. Yeah, we didn't do a read-in in this. That's how much we were just like, fuck it.
There's not a good read-in. I looked at it and I was like, oh, if you want to just blaze past it, I'm not going to point anything out.
So I'm just going to read the prophecies because that's, I think, the best we got. Matt stood there. He was fighting against himself. 12 different men wearing his face, all dressed in different types of clothing. Matt spun his spear and never saw the shadowy figure creeping behind him, bearing a bloody knife. Matt, Perrin cried, but he knew it was meaningless. This thing he was seeing, it was some kind of dream or vision of the future.
This is the one I get the least, because we already had the mirror bubble of evil with Rand in book 3, 4. So I'm confused about Matt fighting against himself, because he's fighting the golem. His memories aren't the problem.
He's not fighting himself. He's dressed men who kind of look like him. So I think it's honestly him fighting and getting stabbed in the last battle, right, by Thane sneaking up behind him, right? The shadowy figure who stabs him.
Okay. Because
doesn't he get cut and then he falls down and then he pretends like we're just not seeing him get back up.
I just don't see the 12 different men all wearing his face. I'm not connecting that to any. That's not a Thane thing. I don't know. That one confuses me, but I do agree that the shadowy figure with the knife has got to be Thane because of how that all ends.
Right.
Like the knife isn't described as being ruby hilted, but it is bloody, so I'm gonna go with it.
The golem certainly fits as well. If you want to try and make an argument for that, but I don't see who are these people who are wearing his masks?
Yeah, that's the part where I'm just like, the allegory has lost me on that one. Whatever's going on there, I'm not following the thread. But there are multiple shadowy figures coming at him with knives, so that all works.
But yeah, if you have a better something that fits better or some take on that works better, I'd love to hear it because it's one of those visions that's vague enough that it could apply to a lot of situations, and so it's hard to really nail it down to one particular one. It's like saying the Lord Dragon has threats in the shadows, and it's like, well, yeah.
If Matt was struggling with his memories, if he was really struggling to hold on to himself through his memories, I would get it. If the golem could do like face changing, I would get it. But neither of those things are really true, so I'm confused. Or if Matt was dealing with like a lot of assassins who weren't just the golem over and over and over again, But like, he's not really.
The only thing I can think of is those people are warriors like him, so they're wearing his face, right? But that's such a stretch.
There are no warriors like him. He's a singular kind of warrior. I don't know. Or it's foreshadowing his time in the Shan royal court. I mean, maybe 4th age Shan shenanigans. I don't know.
He turned away, and another darkness opened in the sky. He saw sheep suddenly running in a flock toward the woods, wolves chasing them, and a terrible beast waited in the woods unseen. He was there in that dream, he sensed, but who was he chasing, and why? Something looked wrong with those wolves. A third darkness to the side. Fael, Grady, Elias, Gall all walked towards a cliff, followed by thousands of others.
I appreciate that you blended those two because they feel like the same one.
It is the same one, right?
It's two different pieces of the same situation, right?
The flock is the children of the light, and they're being chased by the Trollocs. But also you have the foreshadowing of all the people who are you're following. There's then once you clear them out, there's like this trap, right, that you can fall into. Well, no, I'm getting that back.
The Whitecloaks are part of the trap.
The Whitecloaks are the Whitecloaks are a distraction from the trap, right? Like
part of the trap. They're the treat dangling under the box in the claws. But yeah, something wrong with the sheep, I do think, has got to be the Whitecloaks because Perrin stays focused on the Whitecloaks, right? Like that's what allows him to be herded.
Mm-hmm.
Because he assumes because there's sheep, he assumes that means he's the one chasing them because he's a wolf, right? But it's like, no. You are being chased by the sheep, actually.
Right. And something looked wrong with the wolves because these aren't wolves like these aren't his wolves. These are the Trollocs. This is more of an analog for.
Oh, the sheep don't look wrong. The wolves look wrong.
Yeah.
Either way, the thing that looks wrong is the Whitecloaks. And it's not him. He's
you think?
I think so, because that's the threat that is driving him to make choices, is the Whitecloaks.
See, I think this is the foreshadowing the Grendal's trap, especially since we get the Grendal POV at the end of these two.
Yeah, but isn't the Whitecloaks being in the way part of Grendal's trap?
No, not at all. It's totally a distraction. They fuck it up, right? Like, she only pulls the trap on them after the trap completely fails on Perrin.
So the Whitecloaks being in the way wasn't her?
No.
I thought that they were redirected into the Whitecloaks' path. I thought we talked about that like an episode ago.
No, into the trap, right? Into the path of the trap. Because the trap is the portal stone.
Right.
The trap is the portal stone where you can get a bunch of... And so she's diverting Perrin's group up into that area. And I think... And later he goes through his logic where he's like, we were supposed to fall into the trap. It was only... They were waiting for the Whitecloaks to move off so they could come after me. Like, that's the whole thing that he talks about.
So Galad is almost like Taviran by proxy here by getting in the way. Galad is almost Taviraning with the Whitecloaks for Perrin.
He's being pulled on by Perrin, right? He's being pulled on by Perrin to get...
I always assumed that the Whitecloaks were part of Grandal's plot to like get Perrin in just the right position to get smashed by the Trollocs.
No, this is the whole logic back to why is Perrin involved in the Whitecloaks in the first place. He needs to recruit them. He needs them on his side. He needs to convert them.
But she does have Bayar as an asset.
Yes.
I'm not wrong about that.
Poison. Yeah, no, not wrong about that. He is the poison package that she plants in the Whitecloaks, but she didn't put them in the way. She just happened to have Bayar in,
So the Whitecloaks are a good thing.
Yes.
Is what you're trying to tell me.
That's what I'm trying to tell you. For Perrin.
Weird.
The Whitecloaks are actually there. Them being there, them getting in the way of the trap, prevents the trap from being sprung, gives him the time to figure it out, to then save the Whitecloaks, which then recruit the Whitecloaks to his side. Right? That is the Taviran giving him the Whitecloaks as troops for the last battle.
See, here, I always thought it was Grandal had two different adversarial forces pointed at Perrin, so that way the one could, the human force could get wiped out, taking out a bunch of Perrin, and then the Trollocs could come clean up, and then she would have taken so many swords out of the last battle. That was where my brain went.
I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, I'm sure she was encouraging, like, once the two groups were there, she was hoping they would fight, right? Like, I'm sure she was doing things
but
to
I assumed that was the point.
I don't think it is. I don't think it is at all. I don't, and I don't think she did anything to influence their travel there.
I mean, now that you're laying that out and making me think about it consciously, I'm like, yeah, that does make way more sense. It's just totally blowing apart my interpretation of what was happening here. Oh, subconscious. Why are you like this?
Galad's choice to go to Andor, right, wasn't influenced by any. It was like, oh yeah, that's where I'm going to go. To like, that's just the path they were on.
Because that was entirely him. It was a very logical decision for him. He's like, I have property there and people who won't throw me out, so I'm going there. Oh, wow. So it's just so hard for me to imagine Whitecloaks being like sand in the gears of the bad guys. Just like, since when are you accidentally being helpful? That's not, since Galad became in charge. That's
Listen,
since when.
Even the most broken wrench when thrown into the gears will still stop the machine.
You know, it's true. It's true. Sometimes you just need literally anything. Okay. All right. Today I learned.
And then, like, we had this whole thing where he's, like, has to relearn how to teleport quickly from place to place, even though we've seen him doing that a million times. And he has to figure out how to, run like a wolf again, even though we've seen him doing that before.
I mean, I think it has more to do with he's never tried to hold himself back so hard. He's trying to have all the attributes without going wolfy, and it's like, you can't walk unless you move your legs. That's not gonna work. You're gonna need to do the wolfy thing. Yeah, it's really annoying to see him retreading it. Like, I get it in the sense that he's like, oh no, this thing that I want is actually bad for me, so now I have to like make it complicated. But it's also just like, it's so evident it's not bad for you. It's so evident it's not bad for you.
Is this the first time that Perrin goes to kill a stag and is stopped by Hopper, or is this the second time? Because I thought there was another time where he was hunting and had to stop him. Didn't that happen once before?
There was another time where he tried to take the lead of the pack, and he wasn't supposed to take the lead of the pack, I think. Because, yeah, it was a lot earlier. He does not behave like a junior wolf. He tries to take over the alpha position, and he gets snapped at for that. This time, they give him the leader position in the chase, and he has to be held back from killing the stag too much. But yes, I do believe this happened before, and he gets barked at for usurping the wolf hierarchy.
Because I think he attacks Hopper in that moment.
He attacks Hopper both times. That's kind of his go-to reaction to all of Hopper's lessons, is to attack him.
So again, this is where I kind of look at this and go, like, it feels like you're just restating a scene we've already seen. Yeah, rehashing it and hoping we won't notice the barely obscured serial numbers from last time when Jordan did this. If it dies here, it dies the last death. This hunt is done, young bull. Which is foreshadowing, the fact that Hopper will die here, right? That's sort of the whole point, is he trying to say, like, when something dies here, it dies
here.
Yeah,
and just Perrin just spends so much time being reluctant and getting teased by the wolves and being obstinate and being teased by the wolves. And we don't have to go through it line by line. We just don't. Aside from that one line from Hopper that was so funny that we pointed out earlier. Oh yeah, and then Hopper points out, like, you say you're afraid, but you're objectively not afraid. Again, like, Perrin is just so, and it's like part of my unmasking journey these past couple of years has been like, if it feels good, investigate it and find what makes it feel good. Perrin is doing the absolute opposite here. He's like, oh, this feels really good. I should shut it down so hard. Like, this feels like a complete wholeness of my being. I feel alive. I feel balanced. I had better never do that again. I gotta cut that part out of me. He wants to lobotomize himself, essentially. He's like, I need to reject the wolf. It's part of who you are, and you feel the wholeness, and that somehow is a bad thing. Like, I find that so frustrating as someone who's trying to learn how to, like, seek out the wholeness in my life.
To live in the now, right? And something the wolves do very easily that Perrin struggles with. Because he's a warrior. He's a constant warrior. And I think that's almost like there's the balance, right? Is like you have this constant worry going on, but that means that sometimes you have to, like, give it up and just live in the moment. And that's, I think, one of the reasons he's having such a hard time. And we talk about this from a more of a mental health situation, right? Like, ignore the wolf part of it. This idea that, like, you are constantly full of worry and you need to put that down and live in the moment. That's not a terrible message to carry through from Perrin's POV.
Yeah, I mean, Hopper's really right that, like, it's a thing of men to worry about the future and to get lost in the future. And it's like, yeah, the past and the future are not things you can control. You can be here now. That's it. And yeah, Perrin is defined by worrying about the future. That's kind of where he puts all of his energy. Hopper's like, maybe don't. And yeah, that's a good lesson for all of us. If you worry constantly, maybe try running after a deer or something.
I can't imagine why I empathize with Perrin.
No, he doesn't seem anything like you at all.
So, Galad.
All right, actual POV switch over to Galad. And we're in the Whitecloak camp, looking around at Whitecloak things and locating ourselves on the Johanna Road and running into Perrin's baggage train. Setting up the meeting And I think the most interesting thing about this opening part is what he did with the questioners. He's got like the camp layout, right? And it's a very specific layout, and there's a hole because he ordered the questioners to like integrate
Disperse.
into all the other units. And he's like, yeah, we have to rearrange the camp in order to fix that. And I think it's a really good call because he's like, oh, maybe the police should live in the communities that they're patrolling, so that way they feel connected to the people that they are serving.
This is more about spreading the troublemakers out in the classroom so they're not all clustered together helping each other.
Little column A, little column B. Galad is a fair and idealistic and pragmatic person. He contains multitudes, we are learning.
And then there's a line here that reminds me a lot of Perrin. Gareth Bryn once said, most of the time a general's most important function was not to make decisions, but to remind men that someone would make decisions. And I think that's so much of like when people are coming up to Perrin and asking him things, and he's like, why? You already know the answer. Why are you asking me? And they're like, we just want to make sure it's done right or the way you want it. And like, that's what it's not so much that he's making these decisions, so much as like, he has made the decision, he's put his stamp on it, and therefore that's the way we're going forward, right?
Yeah, and you know that the decisions have all been run through the same filter, right? Across an organization. You're like, well, the guy at the top did sign off on this, so I can trust the interoperability of different pieces of this.
And I'm not pulling against somebody else who's trying to pull in a different way, because that I find very frustrating at bigger organizations, is when you're working really hard on something and someone else is working on something the opposite. And like, well, which of these should we be doing, you know? And it's like, well, no one's made the decision yet. So both, but
yeah,
that's a problem.
Yeah. Having a clear and coherent chain of custody on decision making is important for organizational cohesion.
Because again, otherwise you have chaos where everyone's trying to do something different, or just uncertainty where you don't know what direction everyone should be pulling.
Again, this is proof that Galad and Perrin need to like sit down and talk shop about leadership. This is like, you guys need to talk. Perrin, you need to learn a few things from Galad about why leadership is the way it is.
And so Galad's writing a letter basically to the children who are under the purview of the Shan-Chan, basically saying, come back, baby, come back.
Yeah, saying, disobey the violent masters you're currently serving under, who are reading over your shoulder. Defy them and come back to our little renegade group. Okay, thanks, bye.
Of 20,000 soldiers who aren't that well trained and have no channelers.
Yeah, just desert the current violent overlords you've sworn an oath to obey real quick. Okay, cool. And, his cohort is like, that's a really dumb letter to send. He's like, yes, but it's the right thing to do because I'm lawful good.
And then they argue, hey, did we hear correct? You want us to work with these Aes Sedai witches? And he's like, they might be evil, but they're less evil than the Dark One. And everyone else around him is kind of like, yeah, maybe.
I think it's so interesting how he has actually gone towards the Whitecloaks in terms of thinking that the Aes Sedai might not be all good.
Mm-hmm.
What is it? Once he might have denied that, but listening to the other children and considering what those at Tarvan had done to his sister, it was making him think he might be too soft on the Aes Sedai. And I'm just like, dude, you were doing so good. I was having so much respect for you and your growth arc. And then you're like, well, these crazy conspiracy theorists have one good question about how our government operates, so I guess they must be right about everything. Just like,
Also, he's not the one who was ever concerned with how they were treating his sister. That's always been Gawyn. Galad has never, he doesn't know how.
Yeah, he backed Gawyn up on that. That was it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I find that slide of his interesting and frustrating, but it's interesting. Like his growth is not entirely linear, which is correct to reality. Growth is not linear. People make really weird choices even as they're moving in the right direction overall. And
it's very hard to hang out with a bunch of cops and lead a bunch of cops without taking on some of their attitudes towards minorities.
Right, exactly. And he had one bad experience that one time. So, maybe all of their ranting and raving actually is pointing at the real reality.
Right.
But, he's still being practical. And he's like, yeah, even if they are evil, even if this conspiracy theory is true, it still doesn't matter in the face of the larger scheme of things, which is, he's being weird, but he's also being practical while he's weird. So, okay.
And so then Galad dispenses a bunch of wisdom from Queen Morghese by first saying, my mommy says, and then Which I know how my mother regarded the children, right? And so he's like, they're a pain in the ass, basically. They're fanatics. There's no point in dealing with them. And we can't keep being fanatics. Questioners, and I think this should apply to everybody, all of the Whitecloaks, but the questioners especially often could not tell the difference between a hardened dark friend, a person who was being influenced by a dark friend, and a person who simply disagreed with the children.
It's a really astute observation of the whole org, not just the questioners.
Right. And I think that's where he's trying to bring a little bit of nuance. But at the same time, his mission still is to take down dark friends, and like he still has a little bit of that white cloak belief that anybody could be a dark friend.
It's a worldview that's very dark and paranoid. Everyone is a potential dark friend. Any given person could be out to get you. Like, this is a kind of paranoia that fuels a lot of conspiracy-minded brainworms. Like, have more hope in humanity than to assume that everyone is probably a dark friend who's going to knife you in the back at the first opportunity. Like, that's not actually most people, and that is the fundamental worldview of the Whitecloaks, is that everyone's a dark friend until proven innocent, and dark friends are people who will just violently murder you for no reason. Like, it's so simple.
And I feel like Galad's trying to set the Whitecloaks up to be what the Aiel later become, which is this police force that's respected among all nations, who knows what's right and can go in and moderate disagreements and crimes inside of different countries. Like that's what his vision of what he wants the Whitecloaks to be is, right? He's like, think of what we could achieve inside a nation's boundaries if we could act without needing an entire legion to imitate that nation's ruler, right? So he's thinking about operating as a lawful entity inside other countries, not using military force, but using the strength of being right.
Yeah, but also with this underlying assumption that, like, well, we have the right to force them to obey if they won't obey otherwise. Like, obviously we would... Like, we have the right to go in and do that if we have to, but I'd rather not because it doesn't look good. And it's like, cop brain. That's cop brain. But yeah, I mean, you're right. He is identifying a need in the world. Some kind of unifying police force that nations can rely on to be a third-party arbiter who's neutral is a need that this world has. Someone with a military force can easily look at this world and see that that's a hole that someone could fill. And yeah, kind of does foreshadow the Aiel thing later. I'm skeptical of the whole concept, but I can see where the characters are coming from.
So in comes Bayar?
Yeah, in comes cadaverous Bayar.
Compelled Bayar.
Completely annoying Bayar.
Which I get why, like, it feels like, because Bayar took these people prisoner, who, ends up being Basil Gill and the whole troop that supported the army, right? And you kind of look at it and go, oh, Child Bayar is under the influence of compulsion, and he's the one who brings them in. He must be part of the trap. But I think it's just him being overzealous and him thinking anybody who, again, anyone who disagrees with the children must be a dark friend. And these people are clearly lying, right? Like, it's a very legit suspicion, right? They're like, we're merchants, and it's like, no, you're not. Like, you're very clearly not. You're camp followers. So where's your army?
Yeah. And for once, Brandon Sanderson is conserving characters and making sure to not invent someone new when there's a perfectly good character with backstory already established. For once, he's doing that. I like that Bayar is the one doing this just messenger boy stuff because he's been around for a long time and it would be nice to continue to see him before his untimely demise.
I wanted to ask about this line. He's sort of talking about rumors as he walks away and says, there was talk of a gigantic stone from the sky having struck the earth far to the north in Andor, destroying an entire city and leaving a crater.
I know. Like, what?
I have to assume it's just Shadar Logoth. I think it's just Shadar Logoth, right? Because where else, right, there's a giant crater in the ground and a city missing.
You know what? I completely agree. I was so confused. Like, what crater? Because all I could think was the town that Perrin just saw. And I'm like, but we know that they would have recognized Andoran architecture. And Andoran plants.
And Shadar Logoth is in the north of Andor.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, I was like, what? There's no craters. There's no craters anywhere. This is such a random... Shadar Logoth is a giant crater. And how do you explain a giant hole in the ground? Like, a rock from space makes a lot more sense than the Dragon Reborn cleanse the taint.
Right.
Like, it just does.
So that's... I highlighted that with no idea what it is, and then I just had that. I was like, oh, giant crater. That's Shadar Logoth.
Yeah, completely nodding. So yeah, Galad takes it upon himself to assume he can take the resources from this baggage train, and he's allowed to just separate these people and interrogate them and do whatever he wants to with them after he decides what their stories are. Like, yes, he'll be lawful good about it, but also he just assumes that right because cop brain.
Well, and there are no rights. This isn't.
That's true. There are no rights. There are the rights that people decide to give you.
Might, and he's very much in this might makes right. I think it's so funny how not mighty the Whitecloaks actually are. They think they're these big, strong. He's like, we're gonna change the course of the final battle, and then later when they're fighting the Trollocs and Perrin's doing his thing with the arrows and the channeling, and he's like, whoa, we ain't shit. Like, we are a relatively small body of not that well trained troops who are not battle hardened and have no channelers whatsoever. Like, and then part of me is like, I'm always, the pattern needs to give the Whitecloaks to Perrin. Yet, why? They're useless. They're pointless. They don't make a difference. Is it just to get that rock out of his shoe?
No, they do. It's 20,000 people to throw into the meat grinder. Like, the last battle is a war of attrition, so every scrap counts. It's dumb, it's stupid, it doesn't create good stuff on the page, but it is the rules of the game as set up by the author.
So Basil Gill lies out of his teeth poorly because he's obviously a camp follower.
He does the thing where he tries to tell the parts of the truth that work, right? He says he's Basil Gill, he's from Andor, he's trying to get back to Andor. All of that's true. He's trying to build a good lie. He's learned a couple of things, but unfortunately, he's a terrible liar, and everything he's learned does not do him any good in the face of Galad.
And so he tries to sell Galad. He's like, I'll sell you anything but my food. And Galad's like, food's the only thing we care about, because that's all anybody cares about anymore.
It was a good feint by Gil to be like, well, what if I just sell you all this stuff that's making you suspicious? Then can I get your suspicion off my back? And then Perrin would have had no gear for his camp followers, but he would have had his camp followers. It's a pretty good last-minute Hail Mary, but it doesn't work.
Meanwhile, during this questioning, it doesn't matter because Bornhold, somebody else has talked, and Bornhold has all the relevant information anyway. So, don't even know why we're talking Basil Gill, because Bornhold runs up and says, yeah, there's an army. It's led by this guy named Perrin Barra and...
Perrin Golden Eyes.
Perrin Golden Eyes, sorry.
It's very important that we call him Golden Eyes all the goddamn time.
And Bornhold is like, yeah, that's the guy who killed my father.
Yeah, I do have a problem with this guy. You should know. And Galad's like, should I know him? Bornhold's like, yeah, it's part of my entire personality.
Right.
It's my entire personality is that Perrin Golden Eyes killed my father. How do you not know this part of my lore?
Literally what I was doing for years was chasing this guy down for like a year and a half. That's why I was in the Two Rivers to begin with.
Yeah, it's...
Like, have we not told you the story?
It's really funny how there's no communication in my Wheel of Time.
One would assume he'd written reports and shit on that,
Right? Yeah, exactly. It's kind of like how Perrin's secretary dude not knowing Galad's personal sigil is just such a weird plot hole. It's like, pretty sure Balwer would know Galad's personal sigil, given that he's, the essentially hostage stepson of Morghese only a year ago. I feel like he would have known that. Same thing here. I feel like if Galad is hanging out with these guys and spending a lot of time with them, he would know the highlights of their personal stories, especially if one of those stories includes a fellow child of the light being murdered, And
I do like that Basil Gill here recognizes Galad, right? He's like, oh yeah, I know who this guy is, because he's been traveling with his mother. That's the other thing that
well, and he's Basil Gill from Andor, he knows Galad just cuz
as king, sure, but part of me wants to be like, Galad, your mother's alive. Let's go get her. Come on. That level. Come on, Basil Gill.
Right.
Give him... if
Gill doesn't take initiative.
No.
Gil has a -20 to his initiative roll. He never takes the initiative. He always waits for other people in the plot to come to him and prompt him to do something, and he is reluctant to take any action without being prompted by multiple other characters. But yeah, you would think that he'd be like, oh my god, it's Galad, I have to tell you the most incredible thing. You'd think he would have just blurted it out or something, but no. And yeah, that's all I have for that chapter.
Same.
We all know that feeling. You finally manage to get away on vacation and the worrying starts. Will that bogus "beware of dogs" sign keep your home safe? What about that fake camera you set up? And will someone finally find your old hide and key rock? That's where ADT comes in. All that stuff, it's safe-ish. It seems fine when you don't really think about it, but you know it truly doesn't work. Instead, ADT provides security solutions that keep you actually safe, giving you real peace of mind. Because vacation is supposed to be, relaxing. Don't settle for safe-ish. Visit ADT.com today to learn more. We all know that feeling. You finally manage to get away on vacation and the worrying starts. Will that bogus "beware of dogs" sign keep your home safe? What about that fake camera you set up? And will someone finally find your old hide and key rock? That's where ADT comes in. All that stuff, it's safe-ish. It seems fine when you don't really think about it, but you know it truly doesn't work. Instead, ADT provides security solutions that keep you actually safe, giving you real peace of mind. Because vacation is supposed to be, relaxing. Don't settle for safe-ish. Visit ADT.com today to learn more. We all know that feeling. You finally manage to get away on vacation and the worrying starts. Will that bogus "beware of dogs" sign keep your home safe? What about that fake camera you set up? And will someone finally find your old hide and key rock? That's where ADT comes in. All that stuff, it's safe-ish. It seems fine when you don't really think about it, but you know it truly doesn't work. Instead, ADT provides security solutions that keep you actually safe, giving you real peace of mind. Because vacation is supposed to be, relaxing. Don't settle for safe-ish. Visit ADT.com today to learn more.
So we can just quote unquote POV switch into the next chapter.
And this is Writings is the name of this chapter?
Yeah.
I read it as Writhing when I first opened the chapter.
Well, it is the snake, the four panel snake, so I can see that, yeah.
And it's also me as I'm reading this, just writhing in pain. Cause it's a Gawyn chapter. And this is some of the worst Gawyn and some really bad Gawyn too, right? Like I don't like Gawyn in this chapter at all.
No.
And her stubbornness and refusal to look from another POV, it makes her feel dumb in a way that Egwene's not supposed to be dumb.
Yeah, it feels so not like the Egwene that I'm expecting. Which, I mean, in fairness, this is how teenagers in love behave. In fairness, this is the level of dumbassery that one would expect, but... And
it's Gawyn's POV, so maybe he's, sort of interpreting... Maybe we're getting, his POV of how she's like, when in reality she's acting differently, but,
And she's, trying to lock down because she's feeling upset and uncertain, so her defense mechanism is to be really stiff and formal and again very human to be stupid and dumb in this way. But yeah,
not enjoyable to read though.
Yeah, too realistic, not enough beautiful fantasy growth arc where people are better than they are in real life. Yeah, it's frustrating. It's even Sleet honestly comes off as annoying in this. I don't know why Sleet's here. I know he's a great character, but all I see is Gawyn boy crushing on everything in pants, and then Sleet just kind of grunting to the side,
right
I'm here.
Yeah, he narratively, I don't see why he's following Gawyn around.
I think it's just so that way we can be Gawyn is in love with every handsome man he sees. Every man in this, he's well, that guy's cute, that guy's handsome, that guy's rugged. Just
nice.
Okay, Gawyn, sure. Be a bisexual disaster. That's very on brand.
So he's investigating the murder of the fourth dead sister since the Sean Chan attack. Gee, I wonder if they're connected.
That's also since the reunification. Also since the purge of the Black Aja.
Okay, fair enough. They did all kind of happen at the same time.
Yeah, which honestly, I'm wondering about the timeline because I thought that the Blood Knives had all, activated their rings during the attack. And they're only supposed to last for a few days. And apparently there's been a murder a day, but also a bunch of other stuff has happened. So I'm confused about, I guess some of the Blood Knives must have just not activated their rings because the timeline just isn't working.
So I have a conspiracy theory about that.
Huh?
The rings don't kill you, but every Blood Knife ends up dead. So they assume the rings kill you because the Blood Knives go on suicide missions.
And then they behave as dead men walking. So...
No, that doesn't work because Gawyn gets I think he gets weakness and he gets weaker while he's got the rings on. But
yeah, and there's a whole thing about them taking the rings off and on to slow the process.
Oh, okay.
Guess
that if you take the ring off when you're not using it, but then what are they just finding a dark closet to crouch in the meantime while they take the rings off and
I guess that's what assassins do. They find broom closets to hide in.
Someone knocking on the stall. We're in here. Like.
I don't know. I feel like the blood knives are a little bit shoehorned in and maybe don't fit perfectly at all corners.
Yeah, the tower is pretty empty. Athlon's saying, right? There's lots of dark corners to hide in, because it is. But you got all the apprentices and stuff, and there's a lot of movement and a lot of chaos.
They've got dining halls full of dust, so there's probably broom closets in those dining halls that really don't get checked on. But yeah, he's investigating the murder scene because he's not convinced that everything. He's trying to do gumshoe detective work, basically.
And the Aes Sedai killed is Kateri Nepview. This is one of the first of many I would call fan helper inserts. So often, I think people who helped him, the first one I've spotted, there may be others, but I do think people who helped with the, especially from like Tor.com or Dragonmount.com, who helped Sanderson with these books, a lot of them do get named in Towers of Midnight and A Memory of Light and are often killed in really horrific ways. Right. So
such love from the author. Let me kill you.
Yeah. So that's basically like because he's like, oh, I need to kill somebody. So I'm going to make up a new Aes Sedai, kill them off. They're not important. It's just I just need a body. And so these people who helped support him in the first book and later on, I think ended up giving mentions as dead people.
Yeah, I remember hearing this lore, but it's good to actually have the only one I know is Innkeeper Hatch at the Dusty Wheel. It's the only one that I know.
But the name of the character comes from Kate Nepview, who wrote Lord of the Rings reread from Tor.com around the time Towers of Midnight was being written. So she was involved in Tor.com. And I only assume in some other way was involved with these books and the creation of them. Yeah.
Sure. But Tor.com is the broad provenance, and that totally makes sense. Cool. Neat.
So he just basically added an ER because it's Kate. So it's Kate Ree. And then her actual last name. So.
The other thing that I find weird about these murders is that somehow they're like spread out across allegiances and ajas. And I'm like, how are the Blood Knives picking up on all of that intrigue and drama for their assassinations? Like, aren't they just kind of picking off whoever they can find? Like,
I think that's what they're trying to say is they're just in random places all across the tower.
Okay.
But I feel like there's either too many deaths or not enough.
Well, also, there's multiple blood knives. These might not all be being killed by the same knife. They might be taking different floors or whatever.
And that's what I'm saying. If days have been going by and there's only 4 deaths, that means each blood knife has killed like one person. What happened to them like tearing through the ranks of the Aes Sedai and committing murder? And it's like, I don't understand. It doesn't feel like there's enough death.
My hypothesis for this has always been that they're trying to figure out which death will cause the most chaos / they're trying to get to a Gawyn. And they're just like nibbling at the edges while they gather intel on various systems. So that way they can make a much more concerted push to like take out the whole hall at once or something like that. That's been my plug for that hole. Because, yeah, it's kind of weird. The only reason I can think of for so few deaths is that they're doing intel gathering rather than trying to actually kill a significant amount of people. So
do they then only kill these people because they are discovered? And if so, then how are they just picking Aes Sedai who don't have warders?
I figured they're testing various hypotheses about how to get to Aes Sedai and how to kill them and what defenses do they have. I think that's what's happening. Is these are all test cases for how easy is it to stab an Aes Sedai.
Got it. And the answer, quite easy.
Unfortunately, quite easy. But again, this is what feeds into his whole warder discussion. I mean, the whole warder thing, right? None of them have warders, and Gawyn makes the pretty logical argument that adding more warders into the mix would be a practical safety measure on the eve of the last battle.
Oh my god. Okay. Reading that through again, what a dumb fucking... Okay. Warders are a risk, and because if a warder dies, you incapacitate an Aes Sedai. And if you're sending these warders into battle, a lot of them are going to die, and all of a sudden you have a bunch of incapacitated Aes Sedai who can't function because they're magically grieving warders.
Yeah, because he's extending this situation to a battlefield, which is a complete apples to oranges.
100%. But he's also saying, like, yeah, on the battlefield, it just doesn't make sense to me because, like, you are going to essentially risk an Aes Sedai to have one slightly better warrior on the field.
And his other argument is that Aes Sedai will be safer if they have warders protecting them, but I'm like, if the warder dies, protecting them.
Yeah.
It totally makes sense in the context of working in your office in the White Tower. It absolutely makes sense to have all of your tower guards and your personal bodyguards and your assets be all bonded and shit. But it makes no sense when you're talking about like riding a cavalry charge into a machine gun nest. It just doesn't scale.
Right.
But it makes sense in the lead up in the tower. It does make sense. So.
And it's like, yes, if you could give this to every single warrior without risking, maybe sacrifice one Aes Sedai and have them bond all of them or something like that, right? Like, but saying as many sisters should take as many warders as they can, you're just increasing the chances that one of those warders' deaths is going to incapacitate the Aes Sedai.
Maybe Gawyn doesn't know about what happens to Aes Sedai.
But then I want Egwene to push back and be like, that you're just wrong. Like, it just doesn't make sense for these reasons. She's like, oh, I'll consider that. And I'll argue for it in the hall. Like, she doesn't push back at all on that.
It's weird that she doesn't. Like, I get if he's ignorant of that cost. I get him saying that. But yeah, her counter argument should be, I don't know if we want to make the glass cannons that fragile. And he should know, because he's in training to be a warder and he's going to be a warder. So if he doesn't know that, Egwene should be cluing him into that like now. That is important stuff to know about before you sign the contract.
And he knows. He was raised around all that stuff. He understands. Like, the warders don't keep that as secret.
Right. Yeah, he knows a lot of warders, so he does know. So yeah, it's Egwene and Gawyn are frustrating us in this chapter.
They're frustrating. Yeah. Very frustrating in these chapters. So he's investigating, and he's obviously like finding evidence that these are not, these very much are murders by someone who probably doesn't have access to the power. There are no slits of the gateway. They're using knives. They're breaking down doors. Like, none of that makes sense if you have the one power. None of it. And the Aes Sedai aren't finding any residues. There's no channeling residue, because we know they can look for that. So it just, again and again and again, I get so frustrated that Egwene, through this entire chapter, insists it must be Missana, because she knows Missana's in the tower. Therefore, Missana must be killing people with knives.
In what piece of lore is Missana a knife girl? She's an administrator, not a fighter. She was never into athletics or parkour. Like, why are you assuming she has to be the one with the knife?
So I found a little bit of evidence for my off-the-wall wacky theory that Gawyn may have been compelled, right, during the battle for the White Tower. Gawyn found himself wondering how his mother would have handled a man such as this. Gawyn didn't often think of her, as doing so brought his mind back to Althor. That murderer had been allowed to walk away from the White Tower itself. Egwene had held him in her hand and had released them. True, Althor was the Dragon Reborn, but in his heart, Gawyn wanted to meet Althor with a sword in his hand and ram steel through him, Dragon Reborn or not. And I think that just insane obsession was part of the compulsion. That insane, also that, like, I don't think of my mother often. Really?
Seems like you think about her a lot, first of all. Yeah, I also read that line and was just like, that feels so aggressively, like, out of nowhere. Just like, I don't care if he's a Dragon Reborn. In my heart of hearts, I gotta kill him. Like, that doesn't seem very... I mean, I know we hate on Gawyn a lot, but that doesn't seem like a rational, duty-driven reaction. Yeah, that fury just feels really misplaced. And he talks about how he really needs to pull himself back from the brink that he's been spilling over ever since the battle for the White Tower. He's like, yeah, this last period of my life has really sucked, and I got to figure out something different. Like, something changed. And yes, there was a lot of trauma, but maybe also you got a weird seed of rage put in your head that's burning your subconscious at all times.
And one of the reasons he believed the rumors with no actual evidence is because he's just seeking out validation for something he's already being forced to believe, which is Rand al'Thor is the bad person who killed my mother. Being
compelled into being your own gaslighting abuser. And that is so Grandal. Wait, are we saying Missana did this?
Missana, I'm saying Missana.
Yeah, that would be very Grandal.
Which is why it's not the best compulsion, right? It's not this like airtight compulsion that makes him absolutely, it's Missana doing it. She's not a fantastic compeller, right? There's holes in this thing. He has to find his own motivation. It's closer to what Varen did than what Grendel does.
Yeah. Yeah, Missana is an administrator and a teacher and a trainer, but she's not a compeller so much. Yeah.
Which is not to say only Grendel can compel people. Like Ravine did it. Yeah.
But only very well. Only
Yes.
she can do it super, super well. Everyone else has cracks.
Mm-hmm.
I guess Ravine was pretty good. But yeah, it's easier to accept Gawyn being so unreasonable if we allow Masana some hand in the equation.
Mm-hmm. And otherwise he doesn't make sense to me as a character. Which is fine. I don't think he makes sense to a lot of people as a character. But I'm willing to headcanon that and sort of just accept that as like the reason why he sucks so much. Is that he's struggling with this compulsion and fighting against it and never really breaks free of some of the things it makes him do. So this whole thing with Gawyn, where Gawyn thinks Gawyn's trying to take his position as, I don't even remember what the position is first.
High Captain of the Tower Guard.
Yes, High Tower of the Captain Guard, and Gawyn has to like pull him aside and be like, listen, I just want to bond Egwene. Like, that's all I'm here for.
Right, and Shubain is like, oh, you're thinking with the small head.
Right, okay.
Oh, I'm not
you're
threatened.
a moron.
Never mind.
Okay,
You're just a child. Okay,
Yeah.
okay. Because, it's a reasonable concern. He's new to the job. He hasn't had a great track record because of forces outside of his control. Like Gareth Bryn and Gawyn Tricant both seem like good candidates to replace him. Like, of course he's defensive. And then, as soon as Gawyn's like, I'm just besotted with the Amerlin, he's like, oh, never mind then. Never mind. Gareth Bryn already off the roster, and now this little thinking with the other sword. Yes, exactly. Oh, you're thinking with your little sword. All right.
But he's on the right path with the detective work, at least, right? He's like, I think this is some kind of assassin, someone who uses knives, and then they find the scrap of black silk. So he's like, well, a Forsaken wouldn't wear necessarily black silk, because then you'd be like, an Aes Sedai wearing black silk is like a big no-no, right? Especially with all the Black Sisters just being, executed.
Right, yeah, no, proclaiming yourself with black, not going to happen. But very traditional for assassins.
Right.
It's for reasons.
And so that's where he's reading it correctly, where he's like, I don't think any sister would be caught dead. If we found black cloth, that's not coming off a sister. Especially not one who's moving around the night trying to kill people, right? He's like, I don't understand why they wouldn't use the power. I don't understand why they're wearing black. And it's like, well, because they're not.
Yeah.
He's right. His detective work is good.
These three men with their non-magical material-based investigation skills are doing a lot more actual discovery than Egwene and her assumptions.
Oh, you know what line pissed me off? Gawyn had half a mind to let Hattori bond him. It's like, well, if you won't fuck me, maybe I'll just go have sex with somebody else.
I just, and he's like, no, I do love her. And then, this is the line that pissed me off. You want a line that pissed me off?
Uh-huh. Oh, I highlighted that one in red.
It had not been easy to decide to give up Andor, not to mention the younglings, for her, yet she still refused to bond him. You gave up your other, I am sorry, what the actual fuck? She never asked first.
He never gave up Andor.
First of all, you can't give that shit up. You have never formally gone through steps to give it up. She never asked you to give it up. You never talked about giving it up. And she doesn't owe you shit.
Well, and he didn't even give it up for her. He gave up Andor long before he was fucking trying to be her warder or whatever. Like, he was being the younglings. He gave up Andor for the younglings, first of all. And he only gave up the younglings when he was like trying to be assassinated as a leader, right? Like that was done anyway.
Yeah, he gave up the younglings when he betrayed them to go and steal her out of what she wanted to do. Oh, but she won't bond me after all I've sacrificed. Fuck all the way off.
Yep.
The self-centered, spoiled, privileged entitlement. Yeah, exactly, Vuji. Sleet would have set that boy right. Hattori should have bonded him, because then Sleet could have sat him in the corner and just hit him with a book until he stopped spouting nonsense. Yeah, please, Sleet, take him away and give him to Hattori, please.
So he tries to interrupt Egwene, and Sylviana properly says, fuck no, she's on a call. Sit the fuck down and wait for her to get off the call.
Yeah, she's literally the CEO of a giant corporation closing a huge business deal. You don't get to walk in with a bouquet of flowers because you're sorry. Like, take a number.
Reference to Elida's foundation for her palace, which I think is all that ever got built.
Yeah, she paved over the old Warder training grounds, so they have to build new Warder training grounds. But, like, yeah, there's this half-built beginnings of a palace. Like, what are you doing with that? I'm assuming it's going to turn into, like, some sort of weird museum or something.
So I'm half convinced Trump has read this books and is taking Elida as his like ideal. Like he paved over the rose garden, which is exactly like the parallels there
It's
of just like
literally this.
this is paving over the garden. Out of
Elida would never pave over a rose garden. She loves roses.
Well, that's true. That's true.
But yeah, no, just literally bulldozing really important stuff for your vanity. We were making that comparison to blow off steam, not as a suggestion.
Trump listens to this podcast. He's like, oh, yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
He reads Weekly Wheel News. It comes in small enough bites for him. I love you, Rob. It's just, pictures. So Gawyn looks out the window and thinks sad thoughts until Egwene has time for him, and then he is annoying.
Yeah. And we get that the younglings have just basically gone back into the fold as warders in training, which is weird considering they're trying to kill each other 2 days ago, but fine.
Happens with militaries all the time. There is later a cool scene where a group of them who don't want to be warders for exactly that reason go to him and are like, we would like something else to do, please. And he gets them turned into a unit of the Tower Guard rather than warders. And that's a whole thing that happens later. But yeah, for the most part, the younglings are dispersing back to their original mission, which is... yeah, it's whatever. Soldiers do weird shit in war with their allegiances. It's complicated.
I kind of like this little detail that Egwene's books are all ornamental because she hasn't actually read any of them. It's just like they're arranged by color and size because they're just like there to occupy space because they've moved Elida's stuff out. But Egwene doesn't have anything of her own to put in its place.
Right. She's like a 20-year-old who showed up last week. Like she doesn't have a large library accumulated. That's the work of at least a few decades to accumulate a proper library as an Aes Sedai. So yeah, but it's nice that her room isn't bare and echoing. They're like, no, we can find some books from the back bins, the back stock of the library. We could just bring some stuff up just to fill in the walls.
And then there's one good line from Egwene that I really like, where Gawyn's complaining that like, you always show me the Amyrlin. I want to hang out with Egwene. And she's like, I show you the Amyrlin because you refuse to accept her. Once you do, perhaps we can move beyond that. And that's something that I think Matt was able to demonstrate with a single bow.
Yeah.
That Gawyn still has not been able to do.
Yeah. Yeah. And she says later, you aren't ready yet, Gawyn. Like, you have work to do. There is a thing in your brain that, you should go talk to Matt, because Matt was perfectly able to like disrespect her behind the scenes and then respect her in front of
where it mattered.
House.
Yeah.
Like he got that right away, even though he was utterly disrespectful behind closed doors. And yeah, Gawyn is just like, you have to always be Egwene to me. You have to like talk out of both sides of your face at all times. And Gawyn very reasonably is like, no, I need my husband to understand that.
And he doesn't have the excuse of being a childhood friend.
Yeah.
You know, and he's just, it's I've seen it in relationships where the guy just infantilizes his significant other and is just like, oh, you can't do anything. I have to be there for everything. And I'll take care of you because you're helpless. And it's like, Egwene is the opposite of that person.
Yeah. And Gawyn's just like, let me help you understand how the world works, sweetie. Like, oh my God.
And meanwhile, Gawyn has not, like, Gawyn living in his parents' basement, literally, you know.
He's literally mansplaining how to be an Aes Sedai to the Amyrlin seat he's been, like, couch surfing with his friends.
He's like, oh, this is how you're a CEO, babe. She's like, I know, I have the job. You don't.
Yeah.
You could have gone to Andor. You had a job waiting for you. Your daddy had a job there for you, but you didn't.
Yeah. Instead, you are mooching on your college professor's couch for some reason.
And so, yeah, he suggests the bonds because the bond does, you know, the person killing the Aes Sedai is not killing Aes Sedai with warders. I guess. I mean, I think that's more just opportunity.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's because they don't have warders is what gives the opportunity. But, like, they're going to kill someone anyway. It's... Yeah, and the only good line I like from Gawyn in this is when Egwene says, well, taking a warder is a very personal and intimate decision. He says, yeah, so is going to war. Which I'm like, okay, fair rebuttal. It is a very personal and intimate decision to decide to put your body on the line in a war. Like, her putting the Aes Sedai at a different level than the common plebs is something that should be called out. And I like Gawyn being like, nah, we're we're all human here.
But they are at a different level. They are way more. And Aes Sedai were the Hudron soldiers in battle, at least, right? Like,
but it's a personal and intimate decision. Like, it's just you're different weapons, but you're still people. It's a personal and intimate decision to go to war. These aren't just toy soldiers you can line up and knock down because you live for 300 years. Like, these are people. I don't agree with his overall thesis. I just like that particular exchange. I'm like, yeah, fair point.
Yeah. So then Egwene sort of tries to talk around the fact that Missana's in the tower and then eventually just comes out with it. The killer has access to the one power, and perhaps they are not using gateways, basically saying they're in the tower.
Yeah. We know exactly who they are. We just don't know who they are or what they're doing. Like, okay.
Except you're totally wrong, right?
Yeah, so wrong.
Not saying Missana's not there, but that's not the person committing these murders.
Yeah. Here's another line from Gawyn, going back to the warder thing. A sister not bonding a warder is an act of selfishness? No. That is the core of why he's wrong. Just
right.
No, right. It's not an act of selfishness. Like, sisters get to choose what they want to do. Soldiers get to choose what they want to do. Like, don't be calling people's choices selfish. Either direction. Please. Thank you. Anyway.
And then you have to go to all the soldiers and be like, all of you who don't want to get bonded, suck it up and make yourself available, right? Because it's not, you don't get that choice anymore.
Yeah. No. We need a more open conversation with no forcing. That's what we actually need. Is we need a much more open conversation between the soldiers and the Aes Sedai about options, and then people can make their own damn choices instead of enforcing it either way. Anyway, back to the Missana clearly stabs people thing.
Right. And so as part of that, Egwene wants Galad to stop guarding her door, because how else can you can't? Because if she's going to tempt her to come in, she either has to remove Galad or Galad's going to get killed in that infiltration, right? Like, stop guarding my door. I'm setting a trap.
Right. And he's like, how dare you ask me to do this thing for you that's part of your larger plan? She literally says, will you do one thing for me? He says, anything. She says, stop putting yourself literally in the way of a train that I know is coming. And he says, absolutely not. I will stand in the way of the train.
No.
Like, dude, what? I just, like, and this is why we don't trust you, Gawyn. This is why Egwene doesn't trust you. This is why the audience doesn't trust you, is because you cannot trust anyone else or follow through with your own word for more than 5 seconds. And he's like, well, I'm basically your warder. And then she has to say, no, you're not. You're literally not my warder yet. Like, that's actually really important. We're not warder and Aes Sedai. That's important.
And you have to prove to me that you can be my warder before I'm giving you that role.
And he's like, but I love you. Isn't that proof enough?
No.
No. Actually, it's a really weird thing for you to assume.
Because most warders aren't in love with their Aes Sedai.
Yeah. And doing something just because you're horny is, like, not great when you're in charge of lots of stuff.
So then he leaves, and we stick with Gawyn, and POV switch to her and get her thoughts.
Gawyn is being such a dumb teenager in love, and it's realistic, and I don't like it.
It's also, I feel like it's also not realistic in that, like, she's like, oh, I don't understand how bonding would work. And it's like, come on. You've talked to enough Aes Sedai. You know how bonding works.
Well, but there's knowing how it works academically, and there's knowing how you'll react to it.
Sure, and how it feels, I suppose. Yeah.
These are different things. You can read about taking LSD all you want, but it doesn't mean you actually are prepared for it. But yeah, she's just horny for him.
Basically.
Feels like that is going to complicate her ability to be the Amerlin seat as an institutional, solid person. And I mean, I would say that fear is kind of not unfounded, because certainly it's realistic, but she doesn't really make a lot of bad decisions about Gawyn until the very last one. You know, like, he doesn't super get in the way before that last thing, you know?
Yeah. And he is helpful. Almost by accident, but
yeah, like she's so concerned about this, and it's like, it's not really an issue until he actually dies. Like, that's when it becomes an issue. But like, being bonded to him up until then doesn't really make her life worse.
Doesn't make it better though.
No, but she's concerned it's going to make it worse. It doesn't actually. But yeah, then she goes back to her more important business of gathering all of Rand's allies for the Fields of Marilor. That's the letter she was writing in the earlier POV, is telling Darlin, hey, here's the time and place where we all gotta meet up. And, you know, Darlin comes to support Rand, but Egwene does all the secretarial legwork of telling him where and when, even if it's in the guise of come oppose Rand.
And that's where we get the Marilor from, is that's where the original,
Yep.
And honestly, this is sort of a weird POV because it's super short and I don't really have anything to say about it other than her being like, Gawyn, Turkand is annoying.
And the tea isn't spoiling as much lately. Which
Oh,
is
yeah,
odd.
that's right.
There's a lingering echo of Rand's presence on the food stores. We weren't sure about that when we talked about it before, but it appears that there is some lasting effect from his visit.
It does fade over time, though.
Right, but it's not quite as acute as just being in a radius of him. And then, yeah, can we get to our dessert now, please?
We all know that feeling. You finally manage to get away on vacation and the worrying starts. Will that bogus "beware of dogs" sign keep your home safe? What about that fake camera you set up? And will someone finally find your old hide and key rock? That's where ADT comes in. All that stuff, it's safe-ish. It seems fine when you don't really think about it, but you know it truly doesn't work. Instead, ADT provides security solutions that keep you actually safe, giving you real peace of mind. Because vacation is supposed to be, relaxing. Don't settle for safe-ish. Visit ADT.com today to learn more. We all know that feeling. You finally manage to get away on vacation and the worrying starts. Will that bogus "beware of dogs" sign keep your home safe? What about that fake camera you set up? And will someone finally find your old hide and key rock? That's where ADT comes in. All that stuff, it's safe-ish. It seems fine when you don't really think about it, but you know it truly doesn't work. Instead, ADT provides security solutions that keep you actually safe, giving you real peace of mind. Because vacation is supposed to be, relaxing. Don't settle for safe-ish. Visit ADT.com today to learn more. We all know that feeling. You finally manage to get away on vacation and the worrying starts. Will that bogus "beware of dogs" sign keep your home safe? What about that fake camera you set up? And will someone finally find your old hide and key rock? That's where ADT comes in. All that stuff, it's safe-ish. It seems fine when you don't really think about it, but you know it truly doesn't work. Instead, ADT provides security solutions that keep you actually safe, giving you real peace of mind. Because vacation is supposed to be, relaxing. Don't settle for safe-ish. Visit ADT.com today to learn more.
I just want the dessert. Grandal! You get to rejoin Grandal! Yeah! Air horns!
Do you want to read us in on this one?
Yeah, sure. Let's
Since we
actually
haven't
have
done
her
it
read it for the first time this episode. Grandal anticipated the messenger's arrival. Even here, in her most secret of hiding places, his arrival was not unexpected. The chosen could not hide from the great lord. The hiding place was not a palace, a fine lodge, or an ancient fortress. It was a cavern on an island nobody cared about, in an area of the Arth Ocean that nobody ever visited. So far as she knew, there was nothing of note or interest anywhere near. The accommodations were downright dreadful. 6 of her lesser pets cared for the place, which was merely 3 chambers. She'd covered over the entrance with stone, and the only way in or out was by gateway. Fresh water came from a natural spring, food from stores she'd brought in previously, and air through cracks. It was dank, and it was lowly. In other words, it was precisely the sort of place where nobody would expect to find her. Everyone knew that Grandal could not stand a lack of luxury. That was true. But the best part about being predictable was that it allowed you to do the unexpected. I just love her. She's so fun.
So much good stuff. And this is very much like where Matt hides the cannons in the last battle, where he finds a cavern that's sealed and puts them in there.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and then they just open the wall to a different angle on the battlefield, fire, and then close the gateway again, which is super clever. I mean, the ultimate gunner nest.
That is clever, because the gateway doesn't have to face the same way in and out.
No.
Yeah, this is a really cool idea from Grendel. It's just like, yeah, it's a hidey hole that no one would suspect her of having or maintaining.
Yeah, it's an island apocalypse bunker, is what it is, with only 6 of her lesser pets. I love her idea of roughing it is still to have 6 servants.
Uh-huh. Well, someone's got to maintain it.
That's true. That's true. Do you think that she just had the same 6 there all the time, or did she rotate them to keep them fresh, like the food?
Probably just the same 6.
Right. Yeah, they don't need to be refreshed at the same
Yeah.
rate as fruit. So they've just been hanging out there for a year or whatever, however long it's been since she built this bolt hole. They've just been hanging out there.
Well, and I have to assume that she only covered it up with stone after she started using it. That before then, the 6 people were coming and going and bringing supplies.
How? They're in the middle of the ocean. I assumed that she was like gatewaying stuff in periodically and just having them like eat it down, and then she'd bring in another load and like.
It does say food stores she'd brought in previously, so yeah, I guess.
Yeah, I mean that's what you want to do with survival food is you don't want to just store it forever. You do need to like rotate through it. So she could have had the servants rotating through the food. Yeah, Grandal is a glamper, yes. But I figured that this is like hundreds of miles from anything, like completely impossible to sail to and from unless you know exactly where you're going. And her pets probably don't have those skills because they're all pampered nobles. Plus, it would, allow people to find her if there was shipments going in and out. But if it's all gateway based, then it's completely secret.
Just secret enough for the Dark One to find her.
Well, the Dark One's got a GPS tracker under her ear, so...
Right. So this messenger shows up. No idea who. Flat features and deeply tanned skin, wearing black and red.
Some guy. Doesn't say anything, doesn't show up again. He's just the message and the means of transportation all at once. And yeah, she gets summoned to Moradin. So she goes from a cold, dank cave in the ocean to the blistering heat of the Blight in one step. Rough.
She's reading a book called A Light in the Snow.
No idea what that means. In the audiobook, I always thought it was a light in the snow, but in the text, I can see it as a light, as in the bird alit upon a branch. A light in the snow. I'm guessing it's some sort of weird esoteric sex poetry, because that seems like what Grandal would do to try to pass the time.
Yeah, I mean, I have to assume it may be about not making an impression and... I've got nothing.
It's just some smut from the Second Age.
So they end up in Moradin's Black Stone Palace, which I still think is in the World of Dreams.
Sure.
I think this is always in the World of Dreams. I don't think this palace ever exists in the real world.
I mean, she does say that she tries to not sweat. She tries to do the concentration thing, and it doesn't work, which she's like, something's wrong. And being in the dream world where Moradin controls everything would qualify.
Right. So that's my theory as to why she ends up sweating.
Sure.
Either that or they're right by Shale Ghul, and somehow the sweating is tied to the channeling, and because she can't... Well, she doesn't mention she can't channel or anything like that, so...
Yeah, and I do feel like she would have noticed if she was in the dream world, but maybe not.
Not necessarily if it's in one of his bubble universe dream worlds,
yeah,
right? Because he has
true.
control over those in a way that, like, is more set than in the general world of dreams. It's a separate little miniature world that you have total control over.
I'm just surprised she doesn't note the flavor and comment to herself. But I guess she's also got a lot on her mind, so maybe it just kind of slides on by.
And so then what follows is her spinning what happened with getting Bale fired.
Right, which I find so interesting because I'm like, surely the Great Lord himself does know the truth, which means he's keeping it from Moradin.
I think the Dark Lord doesn't necessarily know the truth. Like, there is a matter of he is not omnipotent.
Okay. I kind of figured he was to some extent. But I guess she's the only witness to what she did. And if she's not divulging that information, then how else would the Dark Lord get it? Oh, all right. That's fair.
Because he doesn't have the direct mind-to-mind communication. Like, we saw that with the birds and the Murdral, and like they have to report back to him.
And we've seen the Forsaken say that like they know that the Dark Lord can't like read their thoughts.
With their minds. Yeah, exactly. Or else they would be screwed,
Well, but they didn't die, though. They got Bale fired, so there's no chance for a status report as they go out.
Right. I mean, he's aware they're dead, right? He's like,
Yeah, but the exact means...
Grendal's like, oh, yeah, she didn't go when I told her to, when in reality she tied her up in weaves and prevented her from doing anything, right? But no one was witnessed. All he knows is that she was Bale fired, not that she was tied up.
Right.
They can believe that, she failed to flee when I told her to. Little white lie that Grendal tells.
Yeah. So Moradin's pissed, but she's able to spin this as a mistake rather than a choice, and he actually buys it. She actually manages to get one by him. He's still mad at her, but like he can't be as mad as he would be because she's able to successfully hide that she is the reason they are dead.
And I feel like Lanfear does a bunch of similar stuff where she's like helping Rand, but saying she's trying to hurt him.
Right. The whole like, well, I have to help him so that my betrayal will hurt all the worse. Right. And Grandal's argument is I had to induce him to kill hundreds of people at a time because that will cause him spiritual anguish. which meant I had to let him find me, right? She like passes off as like I obviously lose there and had to be led by the nose to find me. It was like super hard for him to figure it out on his own. I had to help so much. It was all on purpose to get him to kill these people because we know that will be the thing that hurts him worst, which, I mean, it does kind of push him over the edge, but also like he was tipping over that edge without the fortress. So if Moradin was really paying attention, he'd be like, was that the only way? I don't know. Semirok seemed to do pretty good with just almost killing Min, so.
Making him kill Min.
Yeah. Interesting Forsaken thought here.
Yeah.
When she's thinking about, playing the Moradin Lutheran game, and then, she could vaguely remember what it had been like, taking those first few steps toward the shadow. Had she ever felt that foolish pain? Yes, unfortunately.
That is a huge admission.
Yeah, I know. The idea that, like, she actually felt bad at one point in a way that Semirog never did. Like, that contrast right there is like, okay, yeah, so the Forsaken really are three-dimensional villains. They're 13 different people with 13 different motivations.
And it makes Semirog all that much scarier because she's the one who always was evil, Like,
she came that way. Stuck.
Everybody else is scared of her. But at the other hand, man, just the way the floor beans really made her less threatening in a way that just makes me like, oh yeah, she was not that scary. She got captured easily and she broke easily.
Yeah, I wonder if there's something in that where, like, because she didn't choose to be evil, it's like easier to get into her head or something, like because she just was that way already. Like, she didn't rationalize her way into it, right? Like, a Shamael like has reasons, capital R. And that's what Grandal's thinking about. It's like Ishamael has memories and rationales, and maybe that makes it, I don't know. I still just disagree with Floorbeans. I just don't think that was correct to Semirog's character, or Cadswan's character for that matter.
I was talking about how everyone needs to report back to the Dark One. It appears that Moradin no longer does, that he has the direct mind connection, that the Dark One has broken enough into the world, and that he's elevated Moradin as Nabliss, and that he has that ability to communicate direct mind to mind.
Which is wild. Like, and I like that she points out that this is new, because it's like, wait, was this always possible? No. This is a thing that even a Forsaken is surprised by.
And so as an alternative to, she's like, well, since I know I'm hidden, right? Althor doesn't know I'm alive. And so I can do something that you've been trying to do for a while, which is kill Perrin Barrow.
Right. Moradin says, you're in the doghouse. You have one last chance. And she says, Perrin. I can get Perrin. I can get the wolf. And then Moradin says, you're not going to be able to get him on your own. Let me give you a toy. Also, let me give you the contract for Slayer, so you actually have two toys.
Right. And that toy is the Dream Spike.
Yes, which does exist in the real world in this moment. He taps it and then it vanishes, presumably to exist entirely in the dream world for her to find. Which also would imply that this is not the regular dream world.
Yep.
Because it can't vanish into the dream world if it's already in the dream world. That wouldn't make sense. So this has to be a dream shard or the real world. It can't be regular Teleran Riyadh.
And we see that he has many, many objects of power.
So many more than ever get brought into play. Why is he not throwing all of these into the fight? What's going on here?
I wonder if they're fakes.
Decoys.
That this is all just, he pulls the one real the Terran Grial out of his storage, and everything else is just a distraction.
That would be really easy to do in a dream shard. Very affordable and efficient, and if you just control everything with your mind.
But I prefer the idea that he's just been accumulating. Like, anytime anything gets discovered by the dark side, it goes up the chain to him, and he's stashing it away in his little custom dream shard, thinking he's going to, it's like when you save potions for the final boss and then you never end up using them, right? Like,
yeah.
And I just don't feel like he can trust a lot of his minions with objects of power. They'll try and challenge him.
Yeah. But it also would have been cool if suddenly a bunch of objects of power were like powering up all the Dreadlords, like kind of like the Sharans, just like, wait, this wasn't supposed to happen. Like, what if suddenly there's like multiple Oath Rods or a Shock Lance is suddenly in the picture? That would have been cool. But no, they just, sit in his inventory unused.
Or like a whole group of like, oh, I have a Shock Lance. Let's copy it and distribute that. So we have a army armed with shock lances and how you have to adapt to those and that sort of thing.
It would have made a cavalry unit like the Whitecloaks a lot more effective if shock lances had been in the picture. All I'm saying.
They mentioned something called Remakar.
No idea.
Could not find any information on. No idea. No information on there. Not even like old tongue references to those two parts of the word. Couldn't find anything like that. He references that he's got 2 spikes, dream spikes.
Where's the other one?
Black Tower.
Right. I'm like, I know that I know this, but it's not coming to my Black Tower. Yes, it's being put to good use, holding down gateways out of the Black Tower.
So that's where Pavar is going to discover that and Andral are going to be like, oh, I can't make gateways. Yeah. Useful in so many different ways, right? This is, you can protect your palace, prevent people from gatewaying into your private structure, capture other people, right? There's just a lot of gateways are such a useful thing anytime you can prevent them. Also, if you like, you can prevent people from freely traveling in the world of dreams into your special place, right? So
real handy.
And I do like that Moradin's like, and I have the key for this one. So they're complicated, right? If you have the key, you can disable it. You know, so I thought that was going to come into play with Perrin trying to disable the other one instead of him just tossing it into dream lava.
Perrin did a 2 rivers and just punched it.
Right. He just broke it.
He's like, you don't have to unlock it if you destroy it with lava. It's one of those can't be stuck if it's liquid kind of situations.
I melt it. And Moradin also promises Grendel if she does kill Perrin, she'll get much more access to the true power, which is very much like, oh, you want the real drug?
Yeah, he says you're at the edge of losing favor, but here, have some toys and the promise of much more access to the true power. If you don't pull this off, then you're useless to me. Like, I'm giving you all the advantages. I'm giving you assistance. I'm giving you incentive. Like, do it or die.
And I think there's a little bit of here's some rope to hang yourself with as well.
Why not both? Why not both? If you pull this off, it'll be spectacular. And if you don't, you will have hung yourself for me. Thank you.
And you get to be Heslam. Mm-hmm. Which is, doesn't that mean it's Sindane's last chance. What's Heslam?
Beautiful one or something? It's a reference to her appearance because she gets made ugly, because the Dark One has a very juvenile sense of punishment.
We'll talk about that later.
Without forgiveness. That's what it is. Thank you, Vuji. Because she is very much without forgiveness. Grandel's not a forgiving person.
Oh, I thought she wasn't forgiven for her mistakes. That's why she made mistakes, and so she's brought back without forgiveness.
Oh, that actually makes a lot more sense. Good call.
The next thing I have is the prophecy.
Yeah, we've got a human skin bound book of Dark Prophecy to look at, which we've seen this before, I believe, once. Or I feel like there's 2 instances of us seeing this.
The book? I mean, we've seen Dark Prophecies before, certainly. I don't think I've ever seen the book before.
Oh, was the book not in that scene?
I'm not sure.
I think it was in the Moradin Blight Palace situation. So I guess I'm assuming it's from the same book either way. But yeah, anyway, we've got a human skin bound book of Dark Prophecy, which is creepy as hell. And we talk about what is in it, which I believe is referencing the thing that we heard earlier in a Dark Prophecy. It's referencing the same thing, right? The same passage.
So this prophecy is actually in its full at the end of the book, in the epilogue.
Oh, okay. That's where we see it. It's the end of this book. We haven't seen it yet, but we will see it.
We haven't seen it yet, so I was going to read it.
Okay, cool. Yes,
because we've talked about it, and you'll see the line that comes up, but I don't think it refers to Perrin. I think is the problem, is they're misinterpreting the prophecy.
Well, Perrin clearly doesn't die, so something went awry somewhere.
Lo, it shall come upon the world that the prison of the greatest one shall grow weak, like the limbs of those who crafted it. Once again his glorious cloak shall smother the pattern of all things, and the great Lord shall stretch forth his hand to claim what is his. The rebellious nations shall be laid barren, and their children cause to weep. There shall be none but him, and those who turn their eye to his majesty. In that day when the one-eyed fool travels the halls of morning, and the first among vermin lifts his hand to bring freedom to him who will destroy, the last days of the fallen blacksmith's pride shall come. Yea, and the broken wolf, the one whom death has known, shall fall and be consumed by the midnight towers, and his destruction shall bring fear and sorrow to the hearts of men, and shall shake their very will itself. And And then shall the Lord of the evening come, and he shall take our eyes, for our souls shall bow before him, and he shall take our skin, for our flesh shall serve him, and he shall take our lips, for only him will we praise. And the Lord of the evening shall face the broken champion, and shall spill his blood, and bring us the darkness so beautiful. Let the screams begin, O followers of the shadow, beg for your destruction. It's a pretty long prophecy.
It is. It is. The last one is mostly just flourish. That last paragraph is mostly just cape twirling.
Yeah, and there's a lot of flourish in there. Yeah.
That middle paragraph is really where the meat of what we've got to talk about is.
Because the beginning is just the gnashing and wailing of children. He shall come, he shall destroy, he shall claim what's his, right? But yeah, the one-eyed fool travels the halls of mourning, right? That's Matt going to the Finn.
Oh, yeah, it is, isn't it? That's not blinded. That's one-eyed. That's a different sort of oracular damage. I sort of was like, oh, yeah, it's Rand because there's eye damage. But no, you're totally right. It's Matt having had his eyeball plucked out. Duh.
And I think the halls of mourning is what those halls are called that he runs down in the world of the Finn.
I could see that being the name, yeah. It's not capitalized, but yeah, the Finn cause a lot of mourning in general, so that seems appropriate.
And the first among vermin lifts his hand to bring freedom to he who will destroy. First among vermin?
Rand, right?
No.
Fane?
No. Who
Morden?
lifts his hand to bring freedom to the Dark One? Who breaks the seals of the Dark One's prison?
Loghain.
He's the first among the vermin. In this case, are the Ashaman.
Or the Black Tower.
Yeah.
Okay. It's Loghain. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Loghain is first among vermin. I like it.
The last days of the fallen blacksmith's pride shall come.
Yeah. Okay. All right. This is where they think they're talking about Perrin.
Yes.
But you think it's not?
Well, I think this is the last day. He's no longer a blacksmith, right? So he's no longer prideful. He is humble. And so these are the last days of his pride, right? That's when he throws away his axe.
And when he throws away denying the leadership mantle that is clearly already affixed to his shoulders. Because it does take a lot of pride to deny that you're the leader, and takes humility to accept the responsibility. Okay.
Yea, and the broken wolf, the one whom death has known.
That's got to be Hopper, right? Because he's already dead.
Yes, and he will die again and fall and be consumed by the Midnight Towers.
Which the Midnight Towers, in this case, I take it as allegorical for just the final death of things.
Or it's not Hopper, because I think the Midnight... See, this is hard, right? Because the Midnight Towers, one, that could be the Shan-Chan. Mm-hmm. It could be the Forsaken. We've heard the Forsaken referred to as the Midnight Towers.
Right.
Or it could be, I think of the Midnight Towers as the Towers of the Finn, again, right? And so the Broken Wolf could be Noel. And Death has known, he's been under the care of Moradin.
But how does his destruction bring fear and sorrow to the hearts of men?
That's why it doesn't work very well.
Because I feel like with Hopper, it kind of does.
It works better.
Hopper's loss really does affect Perrin, and that affects a lot of the hearts of men. The consumed by the Midnight Towers is like, but he was just consumed by regular permadeath. He was not eaten by a nightmare or stolen by a Forsaken. He just died.
But isn't he killed by Slayer?
He is killed by Slayer. He gets stabbed super hard.
That's right. So, Slayer as a tool of the Forsaken, Midnight Towers, right?
Yeah, the whole shake their very will itself, I'm like, it's so obviously red herring pointed at Perrin because he is a leader of men. So it's like, but who actually else fits the bill? Who
does, right? Yeah, if this is not Perrin, because I think we agree that it's not Perrin.
Well, he's not a broken wolf, for one.
Right.
He's got a broken crown and he's a wolf, but he's not a broken wolf. Boundless doesn't die. He's kind of a broken wolf, but he doesn't die. Hopper literally is broken by physical damage, but nobody except Perrin knows about him. So his fall can't... he does become the avatar of Ma'alanir, but that brings heart and will to men. It doesn't really break their will. It kind of adds to their will.
And it is looking like Sanderson says the Broken Wolf is Hopper.
Okay, well, the hammer does definitely impress a lot of people, for sure. The magic hammer definitely strikes a lot of emotions into various hearts.
I'm just doing some research to see if I can find anything else.
Because the one whom death has known really points at Hopper. Like, who else has known death, especially capital D death?
Well, and that's where, what is death, right? Because Moradin, his name is death.
Moradin's name is literally death.
And he was literally compelling Noel.
Oh, also, okay, here's another hypothesis. Ituralda, because he's literally called the Little Wolf. And then he gets broken, compelled, right, to sabotage the plans. And yeah, then Elias comes and knocks him over.
Oh my God, that is such a better interpretation than the little wolf who's broken because of compulsion. Death is known. I mean, he's fought so much. He's killed so many. He's falled, consumed by the Midnight Towers, which is the compulsion. And his destruction shall bring about fear and sorrow, right? Because the four generals are being compelled.
And he really did know death because he had survived Malden at that point. Or not Malden. He had survived, but what's that town?
Yeah, I don't remember.
The city, but that city that Rand goes and saves at the very end, like he has known death by the time that he gets to that point. So I think it's Ituralda. I think that, yeah, I think we've discovered that.
I'm okay with that
because his destruction does shake what's left of the army, like losing the generals one after another. Like it is a problem. The only difference is that he, and he is consumed by the Midnight Towers. If the Midnight Towers are forsaken. That is being consumed by the Midnight Towers. Like a Forsaken literally did take him out of the fight, even if he didn't literally die.
I don't know if that's what was intended, but that's my favorite interpretation so far.
Yes, I will agree with that. This may be more of a headcanon, but sometimes headcanon is more correct because sometimes the author is wrong. We have decided this on this podcast. Sometimes the author is simply wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I like this headcanon better than Hopper. But your mileage may vary, dear audience. Please yell at us in Discord.
But yeah, I believe canonically it's supposed to be Hopper still.
Sure, I could totally see Sanderson thinking that this was a good reference to Hopper. I like Ituralda better.
This is one of the only times we actually see someone using the true power from someone else's perspective, because Grendel sees Moradin open a portal.
Yeah.
And she calls it a portal, not a gateway. The twisted weaves stab the air and rend it, ripping a hole in the fabric of the pattern. Like that, great description. But it was so, because you have to, but it's an interesting piece of lore, because it means that if you have the ability to touch the true power, you can sense and see somebody else using it, which in all of the cases you can't.
Right. And like actually for people to see it across the gender line, because this is the non-gender power. And
right. As a woman for the first time seeing a man channeling, right? Like literally seeing it.
Right. The only other time we've had that has been with the Bowl of the Wind, like shaping itself around a void, that you can kind of infer the shape of the weave from the shape of the void, but like it's not the same. She actually just sees this because, yeah, the Dark Lord didn't take away the ability for her to use the true power. Like she's in the doghouse, but she's still
just a trickle, but yeah,
not completely kicked out of the club. And yeah, Moradin is very wrong about this prophecy. He says this foretelling promises that Ibarra will die by our hand, and
no,
he doesn't. So the prophecy might be true, but your interpretation is dead wrong.
Which agrees with also Egwene's interpretation of her prophecy, right? Like I think that's definitely a theme in the books, is like you might have something that's true in retrospect, but you're going to interpret it wrong, and there's really no point in basing your actions on how you interpret the prophecies. Rand might be the exception.
Yeah, but he's the exception to so many things that it's like almost par for the course for it to be an exception for him.
Well, in a lot of ways, I think the Koreathon cycle was written for him to read and to guide his footsteps.
Yeah, it's written for him. It's speaking to him. Everyone else is not meant to be in that conversation.
Because he always interprets things correctly. Like he figures out what the Aiel are that they're mentioned in the prophecies, and he goes and seeks them out, right?
Yeah.
And like I feel like Elida gets it wrong, Min gets it wrong all the time, Gawyn gets it wrong, Perrin gets it wrong, right? All these people, especially people who interpret their own visions. I think you have a better chance of interpreting somebody else's. I think your own are almost, unless you know.
Right, yeah, with the extra layer that can't be logicked. Yeah. So yeah, that's all I got.
Yep, he teleports out of there, and she has her final chance, which sets up all of Perrin's arc with Galad going forward. And I like the way we handled that. I think we went through it in enough detail without hitting every single point on 2 very long chapters.
We probably hit too many points. I'm interested how many minutes I'm going to whack out of this final.
Let me know when you're done.
Because right now we're over 2 hours, and I there's some shit I am taking out.
Definitely.
Yeah, but yeah, I'm glad we combined these two so we could just swallow that bitter pill all at once. Really didn't enjoy most of that. Sorry, audience.
That was rough. Yeah, it was. There was points in there that I liked, but oof, it was it was a lot of pages with a lot of cutting, I should say. Like we glossed over huge chunks of text without saying much about them, where it's just stuff that Perrin's repeating that we've read many times before.
Thank you all for powering through with us. We do appreciate it.
Yes, we appreciate
Please continue to engage with us, share the content, engage with my other podcasts, drink water, appreciate August weather, or not, as the case may be. There's a bunch of places where it sucks, but it might be nice where you are.
And join us next week for a lot more Perrin stuff and a little bit of Lan.
No, fun. Lan, get that to look forward to.
Yeah. We've got Perrin figures out circles and for bigger gateways and tries to make more gays get married. I'm sure we'll have lots of fun things to say about that. And then Perrin and Gawyn encounter each other for the first time.
All right. Awesome. Looking forward to getting through that. Come back next week for more of us complaining about our favorite books.
It's really what we should rename the podcast. Complaining about our favorite books.
Truly, truly. Thank you for listening to the Wheel of Time Spoilers podcast. Please rate and review us on your podcast app, and consider supporting us on Patreon for ad-free episodes. What Spoilers is a production of Fox and Raven Media. For more podcasts from Fox and Raven Media, visit our website at foxandravenmedia.com.